Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Brand new for 2016 Rebels TV. Here we are. Very, very exciting North Ballarat Rebels TV with you for 2016. My name's Shaun Kelly. I'll be the host for the year as we take every week a look at the North Ballarat Rebels TAC Cup squad, what they've done, what they're going to do, and what will happen throughout the season. Joining me for the very first episode this week is the coach of the North Ballarat Rebels, Gerard Fitzgerald. Fitzy, welcome to Rebels TV.
You too, Shaun. Nice to be here.
Fantastic to have you.
Start of a very exciting era.
It is indeed, and fantastic to have you back within the club. You mentioned the start of an exciting era. It's your second era at the Rebels. How have things changed in the 10 or so years that you've been kind of away from the Rebels fold, so to speak?
Philosophically, I'll probably answer this question in too much detail, but philosophically, not at all. There's been like the IDing talent, understanding what the responsibilities of a coach at this level are. All that's fine, and I was very understanding of that and agreeing with it when I had the team in 2005 and 6.
Yep.
And those that know me well also knew how much I enjoyed coaching the Rebels in that time. It's lovely sort of being the ambassador for footy in the region, which the Rebels coach does, and getting out and reconnecting to all of the support systems within the region. But there's been a couple of adjustments to how you can see your teams play, which are important. I think for the people, it's to stop the numbers around the ball, essentially. So when there is a stoppage in the Rebels back half, people who come and watch us play will notice that we have to have 5 forwards, forward of an imaginary line through the centre of the ground. 2 of those forwards have to be in the forward 50. So there's some adjustments for me there in terms of how I teach my boys to play. But apart from that, the philosophy of the competition is the same as what it was in 5 and 6. The development and my philosophy about developing my players as footballers and as people hasn't changed. So it's good to be back.
So very interesting pre-season, Fitzy. Of course, 150 odd boys from all over the western region of Victoria coming in to try and be a part of the Rebels list for this year. How did you find having that many boys and then whittling it down to those last 45 that were deemed good enough to wear the Rebels jumper this year?
Yeah, it's a good question, Shaun. Obviously, being new to the program, you rely on your football people in the regions, of which there's really 5 regions. To push names up and ID the talent, which is an important part of the competition, the identifying the talent. To then try and get some really good coaching into those players, and particularly get some good coaching into their coaches was one of my responsibilities. To then see them have a game, and then as I said to the boys, it's a very inexact science as to why some chosen and some not. It's just the opinion, and that's football. It was interesting when we played the Bendigo boys in a game, their model there, and there's a lot of similarities to how they try and structure up and organise their TAC Cup team. But they actually organised their squad quite well before Christmas, and they started with a lot smaller base. We thought that our idea of starting off with a very wide base, give as many boys an opportunity as possible to even have access to the training program, we think it's a good way to go. Obviously, wider base narrows it down to 40 odd, and away you go. So
45, sorry, as we were saying, 45 on the final list, and it looks to be a pretty good and pretty balanced list. Was there anything you were looking for in particular when you were constructing the list?
No, well, I was relying on a lot of advice from Pardo, because obviously when I started here, Pardo was new. But now I come back in 10 years later,
and he's
Pardo,
the king.
Yeah, he's very, very experienced, and really after working in the VFL and with the AFL at North Melbourne, you learn more and more understanding about the roles and responsibilities of your staff. And Pardo really is the list manager. If this is an AFL team, you call Pardo the list manager, where really the coach really shouldn't have a lot to do with there's people more advanced with their competencies who know a lot more about the players than what the coach does. So really, at times you've got to trust the decision making of the list managers, in this case Pardo, to then hand the players over and then let me loose on them as a coach. So when you say, well, we're still looking for philosophically of what the competition is looking for, Shaun. It may not be the best player at the moment. There's a boy who we think has got the attributes at 20, 21 and 22 to actually be a far better player than what he is now. And it's the lads with the right character, good attitudes.
So it's basically looking for players that could potentially make good AFL footballers.
Yeah, or players who continue to play at a higher level, or upon going home are going to be, their development's going to be escalated as a result of being in the programs. And it's a combination of having 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds, and the kid who can still win his own ball compared to the kid who can carry it and run with it is diversity there.
Of the squad that we've assembled this year, and obviously you've had a look at them now over a couple of practice matches and trial games and everything like that, who's the ones that have caught your eye so far over the pre-season period?
No, it'd be too many to mention individually, Sean.
That's good. That's a good thing to have.
And plus, they're largely all new to me. So I saw the Rebels play last year a number of times, but I was more looking, probably because at that stage I was the VFL coach. I was looking for boys, obviously, who were going to leapfrog the VFL, but I was also watching boys who I thought might be VFL type players. Obviously, we work very closely together, so there's not much difference in where our offices are, so you want the team to do well.
Correct.
I was close to Deeks as a coach and felt that I was a mentor for him for a number of years. Obviously close to Pardo, but I wasn't watching the Rebels last year with a view that I was going to be coaching this year, so you're looking from a different angle.
No, that makes complete sense at all. And obviously, as we mentioned, the boys are all coming together. It's been recent. We had the player camp a few weeks back, which also coincided with the AFL Victoria testing day, and a really good couple of days with everybody coming together and getting to know each other, and then going down to Melbourne and I suppose testing themselves against the rest of the competition, and some really good results came out of the testing as well.
Yeah, it was, and the boys will recall me mentioning this to them on the Saturday night when they came back from Melbourne. We did a terrific culture session with Shaun Kelly, who I'm very, very close to and coached and have known since 1998. And he was particularly impressive in his delivery of developing the person, developing the group, developing the culture, but more importantly, taking it away from just words and slogans, Sean, and actually saying, well, your culture will be defined by your behaviours and your actions is a big difference.
That stood out when he was saying that to me as well.
So when I was observing the boys, because I was actually at a professional development course myself, which was around recruiting and TAC Cup philosophy, the few times I was back and forwards watching the boys being tested, a couple of things jumped out at me that I thought were good in terms of culture. Why? Because of actions and the behaviours. I said to the boys I really admired their energy levels, I enjoyed their genuine support for each other, and I also comment on their professionalism. And that professionalism was commented on some footy people who I'm close to, who would tell me the truth, not tell me what I want to hear. And the professional came about that they wore their gear proudly, and they looked good in their gear. The other thing was that the injured players were not just sitting in chairs and looking a bit disgruntled, but they were up and about in their uniform. And there are a few things that I said to the boys, okay, within 24 hours, I could see some really positive developments in what I think this group's going to stand for, and I was impressed with that.
It all starts off this weekend, Easter Saturday on Simmons Stadium up against Geelong Falcons. Really good, especially for the first year boys that may make their debut on an AFL ground as well. Really exciting prospect.
It's a fantastic stadium. It's a credit to the city of Geelong. We've often said that, what they've got with their stadium down there. I think the 16s played before it on St Mary's over there in the precinct.
On the side of the car park.
And then the VFL game, I think, is just after
It's
that.
after the game,
and
yes.
I've got a feeling before our game, the Geelong AFL team is going to be training. So, for people who can get down there, you'll see a fantastic game of footy, but you'll also see a fair bit about the football as a sport, as we've proudly talked about. So some 16s footy, the AFL team train, if it's not a closed session, Sean,
of course.
Our blokes play, and then the VFL team has a go.
Quite interestingly, we played a practice match against the Geelong Falcons this past weekend, and it's quite weird, I think, from my perspective. 6 days out from playing a team in round one, you play a practice match against them. What did you learn, not just about your boys, but about the team that we're going to play this Saturday during those practice matches?
Very little about the opposition. I focused clearly on how our boys were playing, which is the nature of the comp. As coach now, when you're talking about philosophy before, there'll be a bit less emphasis on the opposition, more about how we play, and just trying to help develop the individuals as well as the group. So that takes your time. people who I respect as judges of football, and people who can make a quick assessment of quality of footy and standard, said to me it was a high-class game. So that was good to hear.
It was a very enjoyable game, very quick game, and you could just tell, as many people may or may not know, there were 2 games played on the day, and there was a noticeable jump in quality and standard and pace of the game between the second and the first game as well.
Yeah, which there should be, because both sides clearly tried to pick their team, which was their best side.
It was almost probables and possibles, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was a good one to sit out, and but we're looking forward enormously now to actually playing a game where the group will begin to define itself. You don't get much out of practice games, except you play together.
Yep.
You're playing against genuine opposition who you'll be confronted with during the year, and obviously in our case now 6 days.
6 days later, yep.
On a magnificent stadium, so on Easter Saturday, it's very exciting.
It's very, very exciting to start off season 2016 in the TAC Cup competition. This weekend, 1 p.m. game down at Simmons Stadium. The Rebels are taking on the Geelong Falcons. If you can get down, we'd love to see you down there. If you can't, keep an eye on the website, because Rebels TV will be here every week throughout the 2016 season. We'll have the coach on, we'll have different players on the panel throughout the year, different coaches. Pardo will come on a few times through the year as well. We're going to have some special segments during the year. Our Mars Player of the Day, which will be recorded after each game, will be on Rebels TV every week. We'll go inside 60 with a few of the boys as well and get to know the Rebels players a little bit better as well. We'll definitely have some fun stuff throughout the year as we go along. Coach, thank you for joining us this week on Rebels TV.
Yeah, it's just interesting with what behind us. You can see which of the boys in
exactly
years
right.
to come will be achieving some of the levels of greatness and confidence and excitement that some of those who have gone before us.
Yep.
Even in the room here now, it is a great celebration of the history of the program that started way back in 1992.
Yep.
This lot we got here now can make their own history, and it'll be great to see what happens.
They can indeed. History starts this weekend. Be a part of it, not just on Rebels TV, but following us all throughout our website, social media, all year long. Your inside pass to the North Ballarat Rebels. Join us every week right here on Rebels TV.